The most recent survey that Aura did showed that insight professionals want to get more influence and have more impact within their own organisation. Hence the topic of this year's Aura conference, getting insight into the boardroom.
I think the role for research or insight functions within sort of the broader corporate world is sometimes a difficult one. You know, there are many competing voices, and you know, the challenge for us as research, data, insight professionals is to ensure that our voice is really heard in the right places in those organisations.
I think the way to get insight taken more seriously within businesses is for insight to be about 360-degree understanding. So I think research, consumer research, is an important part of the equation. But I think for a boardroom to genuinely take insight seriously, if that can be a component of a bigger story where a rounded view of a situation is seen, then I think it sits at a higher level of the organisation.
Insight in the boardroom, well, everyone wants that. The lawyers want it, the accountants have got it, of course, because it's corporately required. I think that unless we get more backbone, we're not going to get there. We really need to stand up and be counted as an industry. We need to be confident in what we say. We need to stop apologising for the standards and the requirements that make good insight worth relying on for a decision maker.
If we really want to engage with the board, then we have to be able to tackle board level questions. And I think that demands us to change the way we talk about insight and data, and it demands that we become much more 360 in the way we think about it, so much more able to deal with all of the sources of data and not just the traditional sources of data that research, I guess as an industry, has tended to focus on.
I think it's absolutely essential that research gets into the boardroom, because that's the only way forward for companies to actually understand their consumers, to understand what they have to do to sell more stuff, really, at the end of the day. Getting it into the boardroom is difficult, always has been difficult, but I think we're getting a lot better at it. I think that making the findings very concise, very directional, and not taking an hour to communicate is crucial to what we do in the future. And I think we've got every chance of getting into the boardroom, providing we get the right stuff in the boardroom, which means quality research.
It will be the blending of lots of information and lots of different perspectives. And in the background, an immense amount of thinking going on to be taken into the boardroom in a very simple way to allow the business to take the correct actions. And maybe then for insight to be held accountable for those actions to make sure that they were making the right commercial decisions on the back of it.
If you look around the world at the moment, one of the jobs that has been advertised, I think there's like 12 or 15 jobs being advertised at the moment, is Chief Behavioural Officer. It's a new role, it's up there often at a board level, and so in a sense this behavioural shift in research and insight has taken us into the boardroom in that level.
There are very few companies that have an insight director on their board, even a management board, never mind the main board. And that's what I think insight needs to do in the next 10 years. Position itself much more as a part of a whole equation, as part of a strategic view, and demand its position within the company.